Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I'm Billy Embody. With me, former SMU basketball great Jarrey Foster. We're going to break down the week that was for SMU. A little up, a little down in the SEC slate of their non-conference schedule. We'll break down that, some of the trends with Andy Enfield's Mustangs, and more on this edition of the On the Pony Express podcast presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. We do all that right now on this episode.
SMU fans know the importance of protecting the football. Northwest Insurance has been protecting Dallas families and businesses for over 30 years. Founded and led by proud SMU alumnus Mark Villasana, the agency fights for its clients, finding the best coverage at the lowest rates. From auto and home to business and life insurance. At Northwest, we make sure you're covered so you can focus on the big wins. Call 214-352-5656 or visit us at nwagencies.com. Northwest Insurance, coverage that's always a victory. Pony up.
Northwest Insurance.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
Billy Embody. 1, 2, 3, let me go.
And we get to an SMU basketball edition of the podcast with Jarrey Foster joining us. Jarrey, thanks so much for making some time as we get into the thick of this non-conference slate. 2 of those 4 SEC games that SMU has on the schedule are out of the way. 1 win at Mississippi State, 1 loss at Vanderbilt. And we'll break all that down, of course, on the podcast, again, presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. Give Mark Villasana a call, 214-352-5656. But, Jarrey, let's go back, and we'll always try to do these, for the most part, kind of going back to what happened first and then see what maybe how it impacted the next game or what trends continued, what trends changed. But let's start with the good news because SMU fans kind of need that after the football game this weekend. Friday, SMU went on the road to Starkville, a tough day for the Bulldogs on the football field as well, and SMU came back to beat Mississippi State in a thriller that gave SMU a much needed win to kick off this run of SEC games, 87-81 over Mississippi State.
Yeah, Billy, man, I appreciate it for having me on again. Man, this is always great to continue to get this information and get it from a perspective of a former player. So I really appreciate the platform that we have here. Thank you to the fans that listen in. And simply, just want to break down the Mississippi State game just a little bit. Very, very proud to see that team come together, the Mustangs, and come and win that game. You know, just being down and having different moments in the game and to show the grit, the IQ, and just the culture of this team on the road when you're trying to claw out a win. So I was able to see that and very proud of that. But the way Boopy Miller put on him and showed his leadership is something that the Mustangs need to continue to see from him and have and will continue to see from him. But just to see him to step in that light, being on the road, true road test, and coming out on the victor side, taking it to overtime, was really, really good to see and something to push the Mustangs.
Boopy Miller hit 28 points again this season, tied his season high, his 16th consecutive game in double figures at that point of the season. And, you know, when he's on, SMU is really tough to defend, really tough to beat. His 7-0 run by himself was what got SMU kind of back into that game and was able to make it a situation where they could force overtime and get it into a situation where it was just, all right, let's start out 0-0. What is that? Let's attack this from 2 different angles. What is that like when the point guard is on and is cooking? How do you feed off of that as one of the guys on the floor? And then when you face a game where it's been, you know, a lot of adversity and a lot of, you know, need to expend so much energy to get to overtime, how nice is it when it does get to 0-0 again? It's just a brand new ball game.
Yeah, to attack your first question, man, I've had a firsthand experience on playing with a point guard and Nick Moore that can get it going. And being able to play off the ball, being on the wing, and just watching the show in front of you, but also being available and being ready to make a shot or to make a play for the team. But Boopie Miller playing in that space, just as Nick Moore did in my era, is just so beneficial to the Mustangs. It keeps them stable. It keeps them in a position to always be able to push the throttle and to take the lead at any moment. So you see him making big shots, 4-point plays, and getting to the free throw line, making tough baseline jumpers. That's in his bag. That's what he does. He's a kid from Chicago, and really reps it and really loves where he comes from. So just to be able to see him flourish at that level is really huge. But overall, the Mustangs have found their way playing on the road test and getting to a point where it's 0-0. And once you get there, it's almost like a breath of fresh air. You get a timeout before the overtime starts. Everybody gets a clean slate, and it's a battle tested of who's the most conditioned. And shout out to the sports performance program of the Mustangs and what they do to keep the guys ready for those type of situations.
And when you look at what what Mississippi State was able to do for a lot of that game, what was it that you saw that really had SMU kind of not struggling, because they were in it, of course. They were hanging around close enough that allowed Boopie to get it to overtime. But was there anything that really stood out to you kind of breaking down the game film on that really caught your eye that they had to adjust and overcome and get back on the right side of things with?
Yeah, I think just mostly just from the first eye, you can look at the depth chart of SMU. BJ Edwards has been really, really stable and strong for the Mustangs and playing different roles defensively, offensively. He didn't have his strongest night, so that definitely puts a dent into the Mustangs offense and then his confidence. But he made some plays towards the end to propel the Mustangs. But that's the first thing. But then overall, it's just coming together and finding those consistent runs and those consistent paces that we can play at, finding the consistent shots that we can find, and just overall thinking who's going to be that guy that can get on fire outside of Boopie. You know, you have Jerron Pierre, who's a high-level scorer, can be up and down at any moment, but who's going to be that guy that's going to be straight line consistently from the three-point line or just from a efficient standpoint. So you can see kind of the inconsistencies here and there, but their grit, like I say, pushed them and propelled them to that win.
When you look at Jerron, I'm glad you brought him up. 24 points in that win over Mississippi State. We'll get to his play against Vanderbilt, which was a step back from his season average and just what he's been able to do. But he is probably a player that as the season unfolds, we'll watch and we'll say, wow, look at what he just did. Look at some of those NBA level plays. But at the same time, it's finding that consistency. How much is that, the new setting, the new scheme, the new players he's surrounded by, and how much of that is just maybe, hey, wasn't his night. He was doing everything he was kind of asked to do.
No, man, I love just the insight on that, man. Jerron Pierre is a high level player, and he makes the right plays, has the right intentions. But like I said, it's just sometimes he's on and he's on fire. And like you said, we'll look back and be like, wow, look at the night he had, or look at the stretch of games he's had. But overall, it's about his bounce back to nights where he doesn't shoot it as well. So for him, it's just going to be a continuous mental game of just how he bounced back. But he is that guy that can be that straight line player to score consistently, to keep the Mustangs at a pace where they know they can get a bucket from him and he can get on fire at any moment. So love his game and just see the heights of him and his NBA level talent really coming to fruition. So it's just about him getting comfortable in his setting, in the offense, and around his other players. So, yeah, it's a learning game, man. But they always get tested like this around these times and at these moments. So I love what Coach Enfield has done with this schedule to give them the best opportunity to grow as a team and come back, fly back in those late night games and give an opportunity to grow.
When Jerron Pierre is out there, it's almost like he's got a little magic, and when he's on, it's that magic. And we look for that out of our partners, Corporate Magic, too, which can bring it on the entertainment side of things for your friends, your family, all of your events that you want to share and show off. Well, Corporate Magic can do it at a level way above that. You need pros when you're in the event space, and you need people that you can trust with $1 million plus events, and Corporate Magic is exactly that, whether it be big national sales meetings to concerts to global broadcasts and other productions, Corporate Magic can bring that to you without a doubt. They have that big stage and that big environment that everybody looks for that type of a level of event production. Corporate Magic can do that. They're proudly based here in Dallas. Visit corporatemagic.com to learn more about how they can help you, your company, whatever you want to do, bring your vision to light and do it in a way that only Corporate Magic can. And speaking of bringing to life, Samet Yigitolu was not on in this game against Mississippi State. He kind of bounced back against Vanderbilt, was able to have a double-double in that one. These big guys, they stand out in more ways than one because they are these huge trees out there. What is it to see, kind of the game in, game out grind of finding the consistent level of play out of these big men? I know you played with one of the great trees that has been through SMU and Yannick Barrera, but with Samet Yigitolu, somebody that is still finding his way, but more often than not, his production is there that ultimately helps SMU get over the top in some of these games.
Overall, man, it's a high-level thing for these big fellas because they have to understand different schemes that are going to come towards them during the game. You may get trapped. You may get trapped from the baseline. You may get trapped from the middle. You may not get trapped like as you saw in the Vanderbilt game, which we'll get to, and you'll have to play one-on-one. So being able to be accessible to play and to be a passer, to be a point guard on the block, can actually add to the efficiency of the team in different schemes and different games and different scouting reports. But overall, Yigitolu just continues to have to be strong, a presence down there, and be able to just go up. You see a couple times he'll miss and grab it the second time and then go dunk it. I think that should happen the first time. So overall, it's just that mindset switch of him reminding himself he's the biggest person on the floor. He's the best big in the country, and he has to believe that. And his presence will show that. So, but he's doing a great job this year of putting himself in the right positions. His conditioning looks totally better, and just love the potential in the ceiling that he has.
And when you look at somebody in the front court with him, Jaden Toombs, who made his debut at Mississippi State, 6.6 rebounds, not a bad debut for the freshman who was super highly thought of coming out of high school. I believe he finishes the highest ranked signee for SMU or right around there. He is somebody that has always impressed in practices and through his high school career on the high motor side of things. And we talked about him a good deal in the offseason, just kind of that excitement towards building towards that first game of his and then seeing what SMU would have. I think his emergence in that game shows the flash of what he can be. It's just a matter of now, figuring out when he can bring that next level for SMU, and how does he give that to the team on a night in, night out basis, which is hard to do as a freshman too.
That's right. I think they call him Toombs.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, Toombs. So I think he's in the right space, man. He's a highly touted player coming out of high school. They did a great job in recruiting him. But he's played in that position all off-season and all preseason. He's shown those flashes and has been consistent as a freshman, battling against Yigitolu in practice every day, and getting those reps and those live reps from somebody that can show him what it looks like on the floor. But going through the injury that he had and being out can slow it down. But I'm totally behind this kid because he works hard, he knows how to play the game, and he's looking to do what his job is. And he knows his job to play hard, play fast, and put himself in the best position to be an asset to his older counterparts, but be ready to make big shots and make big plays.
And speaking of big plays, make a big play with our friends at StatusJet this holiday season. Go to statusjet.com and book your trip to SMU Duke, maybe, in January. Get that trip lined up with our friends at StatusJet, or the bowl game, wherever SMU heads to. So go to statusjet.com and mention On the Pony Express when you book for a discount on a round-trip flight. The big plays were not there in that loss at Vanderbilt Wednesday night in the ACC-SEC Challenge. If SMU would have found a way to get this one, the ACC would have split the ACC-SEC Challenge 8-8, but instead 9-7 loss for the ACC, but a good showing, and a good showing for the ACC as far as some of the other teams that were able to get wins. But SMU is just ran into a team that, Mark Byington has done an unbelievable job at Vanderbilt. They're getting national praise. They're one of the best teams, in the country, just as from a win-loss perspective, without a doubt. But also now the analytics and things like that are really backing it up. Mm-hmm. SMU drops this one 88-69, almost a 20-piece on the road, and it just felt like this team couldn't get anything going in the backcourt consistently, and they finished just 2 of 17 from beyond the arc, and you're not going to keep games close when you shoot that poorly as a team.
Yeah, it's a tough loss on the road, big challenge, big opportunity, which we love. And like you said, it's just they were one step behind. It just felt like they could never get that footing and put themselves in the positions to be the aggressors in the game and to take the lead at some point. So, but like you said, Vanderbilt has done a great job over there. But that's not to not shed light on what the Mustangs are doing positively and how they're putting themselves in positions to win. But they just didn't have the speed and the step that they needed yesterday to face some of the looks that they got yesterday.
The backcourt in particular, I think this is where this team will have to find that consistency. Boopie Miller adds 17. That was a big night for SMU. Jerron adds 13, but really both him and Boopie weren't efficient. And then B.J. Edwards back in his home state, 4-14 for 10 points. You can get obviously to that 10-point threshold, but when you're playing as many minutes as all three of those guys did, what did you see in kind of scouting it that wasn't working for them? In particular, Jerron was the only one to make a three-pointer, just 2 of 7 though from beyond the arc. It just seemed like shots weren't falling, and at times I felt like some just kind of poor shot selection too.
Yeah, man. Now just to follow up on that is simply the Mustangs, the way they get their 3-point shots is off assists and off playing off of each other, attacking the lane, attacking the 45, finding the way into the paint, playing inside out, also getting offensive rebounds, kicking it out, and getting second chance threes. I think that's the way the Mustangs play. That's in flow. Yesterday, they didn't have that opportunity based on the way that Vanderbilt was playing them, giving no passing lanes, no driving lanes, allowing the middle and the free throw line to be open. It made it hard for them to swing. As you saw, many steals, passes picked off, them playing the passing lane. So they didn't have an opportunity to really get threes off. So you had to almost force them, and that's what you kind of saw. So it's kind of a good thing on the Vanderbilt side on the way they shut down our driving lanes and didn't give them the opportunity to play that the way they play.
When I look at this game, Vanderbilt obviously is built. Now a lot of people are really starting to jump on the bandwagon of they can win the SEC, they can do all these things. Tyler Tanner was just outstanding. I mean, 26 points for Vandy. What was he doing that really stood out to you in the backcourt?
Man, I love his pace, his speed, and he knows where he's going. Each dribble is intentional. He gets downhill. He finds a way to find his teammates, but also very smooth around the rim and very sneaky too. He had a couple steals and full court transition layups, getting out in the passing lane. So very poised guard, high ceiling for him, but he was able to just play at home and play in his space. Great matchup against Boopie Miller, but he found his flow and he just took over the game.
I don't think this is controversial to say, but this team's ceiling relies on it getting better defensively. I think just as a whole, and I think there's enough talent from just pure athleticism, from length, from just size for all of these things to come together. Are you seeing anything that you can kind of really pinpoint as to why it hasn't clicked just yet defensively? Because even some of the other non-conference games, there's been 45-point halves from some lesser teams than what we saw out of Vanderbilt Wednesday night.
I think it's the defense getting on a string. Everybody should be in coordinates and in cadence with each other. Anytime there's a drive, there should always be some type of rotations And when I speak about the being one step behind yesterday, it was more about getting to that extra shooter, closing out or boxing out that next guy. So if somebody helps, you have to help the helper. So I don't think we're seeing that enough. And I think that just comes from the chemistry of them continuing to play together, go through adverse games like yesterday, and going back to the film room and just seeing how, hey, I could have helped my teammate just a little bit more and push that so that we can have an opportunity. But overall, it's just the grit that they had to win that Mississippi State game needed to be displayed in this game against Vanderbilt for 40 minutes. And I don't think they did that. So from a consistent standpoint, it's just about everybody just has to play harder for each other.
And I think I misspoke that Smet Yugutolu had a double-double against Vandy, but he came close. 16 points, 8 rebounds. Really had a efficient night around the basket, but also had, a turnover. And I think, again, people will kind of always harp on those things with him because, I saw one of the turnovers was just obvious. He's traveling and he's getting the shuffle and, he's dribbling, I think, maybe 1, 2, 3 times. He caught it a little farther out from the basket. They're still refining that with his game, but I do think he's more comfortable in a sense around the rim this year. He's always going to draw a lot of attention because of kind of the hype he came in with, even though he came in the first couple days of school really last year. This offseason, he had a full offseason here in Dallas to work with the staff. I'm intrigued to see where the rest of his game goes, but, man, 7 of 10 from the field in an SEC matchup, and he was the only starter to be plus-minus wise in the single digits, negative -7 on the night. So kind of a better than it sometimes looks maybe film session with a guy like Samet.
Yeah, and you can, if you look at the game and analyze it, you can be able to see that he had many opportunities to showcase how he played when he was back home. And when you have more space and you're playing against better talent, more one-on-one opportunities, more opportunities to go up quicker, and showcase and have space to showcase your footwork and the things you actually have worked on all season, and not really getting the traps. So you're able to see him play one-on-one, no under pressure, and be comfortable a little bit. And that's what you want him to feel like in other schemes in different situations. But going to the film room with him should be just continuously to bang and just be comfortable 5 to 7 feet around the rim to be able to go straight up, put the ball on the ground less, and be able to knock down free throws.
And as Jaden Toombs gets more comfortable, that would be a huge development for this team to get him on the right track and playing well by ACC play beginning. But SMU this weekend does have another SEC matchup. They head just down the road to Arlington. It's, of course, trendy these days to face a team in a neutral site. So that is why you see teams do this nowadays, even though it is costing SMU a game in Moody. Hey, that's what the net and all the different analytics that the committee uses for Selection Sunday really kind of hone in on. But you get a neutral site game against Texas A&M, an opportunity to really show that you're on the right track, bouncing back, potentially a 7-2 A&M team going into this one, and bragging rights in the state of Texas too. What's your feeling like a game like this, as far as some of these players that are going to play in it where they are from Texas and they kind of have some of that maybe affinity for it? I think of some of the freshmen that SMU just signed. They might have a little extra pep in their step.
That's right. No, this is a game that's rocking, and you have to have short-term memory loss from a game like yesterday. Be able to quick fix, put in what you need to put in, and be ready for another good team and great team in Texas A&M. But man, this is a game. Any Texas guy, you grow up seeing Texas A&M and all these big schools, and you want an opportunity to play against them. And there's the opportunity right here this Sunday. So the freshmen, most of them being from Texas and having some ties to Texas, should have a good opportunity. And the whole team should just see this as room to bounce back and to continue to show the state and the country who's the best team in the state. So it's not necessarily bragging rights, but it's almost just a chip on SMU's shoulder, just to let them know that, hey, last night was what it was, but we're able to bounce back. We're resilient. and really we're still the same team that everybody expects us to be.
Yeah, no question about it. And look, we'll be ready and waiting to break it all down as SMU will face A&M this weekend, and then they'll head down to New Orleans for another neutral site game against LSU and a team that I just saw one of their players, Jalen Reed, went down with a Achilles injury, so he's out for the year. But this will be another good test for SMU on Sunday against Texas A&M in Arlington, and we'll be following it with our friend Jarrey Foster. So we appreciate you jumping on the pod with us. Again, we're going to try to hit you guys with these weekly. Now that we're in it, now that we've got some big games under the belt for the Mustangs, we're going to try to hit you guys with a weekly podcast kind of breaking down this team. Maybe we'll get some guests on it and have some fun with it too. So Jarrey, thanks for coming on, and look, man, we'll keep this thing rocking. Do you have any other takeaways on the team that you're seeing right now that stand out to you?
No, man, Billy, I think that's a good job, man. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, just excited to continue to see what this team does. But overall, man, I'm not honestly too scared of what happened last night. I know they have the staff and the team to do what it needs to do to continue to be a March team. But it's still December. We're just going to continue to focus one game at a time. So excited to follow the Mustangs, excited to continue to be supported by the Mustang fans and to be a part of this podcast. So excited to continue to see how the season goes.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thanks for listening to this podcast with Jarrey Foster, former SMU basketball great. I'm Billy Embody. We'll catch you guys next time we chat. We'll be breaking down SMU's game against Texas A&M on Sunday, and we'll chat with you guys next week after that game and preview the LSU game as well. So, Jarrey, have a good one, and everyone out there, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU_on3 and on Instagram at On3SMU. And keep it locked to OnThePonyExpress.com for more coverage.